Hello again, world, and this is continuing on to part two of a second love story. So, after he found out what her name was, he did decided to send her an email, not knowing how she would take it, and he used the campus directory to find her and to just send her a brief message introducing himself, who he was, and his cowardly ways of finding her, with the proposal to get to know one another. Uh, Else, it would be a waste of the class to not meet anyone new. Well, a week later, he received an email from her. You can only imagine the joys that he felt at that moment, and words could not express those feelings. So, in the next lab, they were properly introduced. They went over the basics of casual conversations, of what was their interest, etc. And that was quite a refreshing night. He could always remember how beautiful she was and how beautiful she always looked, no matter what she was wearing. Just for a general description, she was a blonde with blue eyes, if he remembers correctly. Oh man, perfectly figured, just perfect. Nothing flawless whatsoever. So, with class the next day, he would always be content knowing where she was, as if he wanted to always steal a glance. One time, he remembers it was the day of one of the tests, and he remembers this so vividly. But as he was waiting for a few students to be lined up, and there were two entrances to the uh, classroom, one on both sides, and he saw two girls walked in the other entrance. He had to take a double take, the one where you have to glance twice, uh, to make sure that his eyes weren't playing tricks on him. He thought he saw her. Then, as he walked in on the other side down the path, he was surveying the room. As he got closer to the front, his eyes looked over to the left, and they were met by her own glance uh, back at him. There, for a short moment, he paused only to see her wave. He was thinking, hot damn, his heart was bouncing off the walls. Boom, 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 boom. Telling this memories brings a tear to my cheeks, he remembers, due to how sad the outcome of this story and how much passion that was portrayed to him. At least it was the amount of passion that he saw in this experience. So, with that, he took his seat. Yes, I'm going through my papers here. Please bear with me. So when she... Wait, what's this? So after he took his seat, he went to where she was to make small conversation. And the professor came in, and he just finished talking to her Then he waits for the boy to take his seat and then goes, "I guess I can now start the class," chuckling along with everyone else in the class. And that was just to pick on him. But after the tests were done, everyone left. He guessed that that will always be one of his favorite test days. Then, a week or so after that, he did not see her in class for a few days, and he got so worried, so sad, that he made another poem. But he went and got her some get well cards and gave her an email to see how she was doing. It turned out that she just had a cold, and he was very relieved. Then, like the lab just before spring break, they were talking about how they would spend it and all. She told him that she was going to California and it would be her first time to the West Coast. And he was thinking too bad he couldn't go either to see her in a bathing suit. So after spring break was over, they came back and they had lab that night. It was a drizzling a bit outside, and they were going to be watching a video that night. On the watches time, what? Sorry. Anyways, he was watching his watch and looking at the time. The video was give me just a moment here. Watches. Okay, sorry. The video that night was on watches and how it could be used to calculate the star movements, etc. But as the class was getting started, someone walked in with jeans and a thin gray sweater with a hood. As this person's hood was unveiled, what he saw was one of the sexiest images that he has ever seen. It was her, and she had this nice warm glow with a slightly blushed, perhaps sunburnt face, and her hair was like damp and almost crinkly due to the rain. And he was just thinking, oh damn, he means shit. Woo! Even now he thinks that his heart was frozen. It was pounding so hard. Thump, 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 skipping a beat. He was just remembering that image. And so she sat beside him, and his excuse to turn his chair around to facing her was to get a better view of the TV for watching the video. And he's thinking, TV? Really? So his face was straight at the TV screen, yet his eyes were locked on her. Then at one point, he thought she got bored or something, but started to pick up her pen and fiddling with it, and ironically dropped it under his desk. It was his pleasure, of course, to get it for her, so he handed it to her. Class was over and we said goodbye. The next lab was the most memorable. And I'll end it here for part two of A Second Love Story.